All right, Representative Anna Paulina Luna has just dropped some interesting information about the UAP hearing that took place on the 13th. I thought this would be a good opportunity to just kind of cover her specifically and how she took this hearing, look back at some other comments she made just after the hearing, and as well as just her questioning during the hearing. But first, let's start with this exclusive from Askapol and journalist Matt Laszlo. Hearing what Luna has to say here is quite interesting. Remember, she is one of the members of the UAP caucus and also just been a champion, right, for UAP transparency, disclosure, right, this whole push ever since David Grush testified last year, right? But at this hearing, she seemed a little disappointed. Take a listen.
And now, here's our latest Ask a Poll exclusive from your U.S. Capitol. How do you think it went?
With what?
UAP hearing. What's the...
Well, they didn't answer some of the questions we were asking, so I thought that was annoying.
How do you guys dislodge that? Because it seems like a lot of... It was...
Well, they submitted a lot of stuff to us, and then when you ask them about it, they weren't answering them, so why waste everyone's time?
Oh, interesting. But it feels like the fear of God because of the classification stuff. No?
Put it...
Because it was in writing?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for listening to Ask a Poll, your conduit to Congress.
All right, so that's kind of interesting, right? Especially the part about, well, you know, Matt tries to bring up, oh, what about the classification, right? Is that the reason? Maybe, right? But she's like, no, it's in writing, right? So they give us all this stuff in writing, and then when we ask about it in the hearing, they can't talk about it. Right? You know, what's the point, right? Which are, to be fair, those are questions we had as people here. I know we talked about it on Vetted, you know, what information did Congress get? Why didn't they ask this question? That, you know, so, you know, some of the questioning wasn't bad. It was the answers, right? And I get it why she's disappointed. A lot of us were also disappointed. We can't just sell it. Well, we had a hearing. When, I mean, we're screwed. This is going to take us forever, right? We can't be Rudy in the Notre Dame football game. You know, we got to be Tom Brady winning 6 Super Bowls, y'all. Or is it 7? I lost count. Right? We gotta want to win. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, it's just pushing a book or a company or a nonprofit or a documentary or, you know, a website. I mean, that's essentially what most people learned at this hearing, I think, what people represent. So, look, here's another instance of Luna talking about the hearing on Forbes News. Take a listen to what she says.
I do not want to do a complete 180 here and talk about UFOs, UAPs, because UFOs used to be the talk of conspiracy theories. Now, really not so much. You participated in the House Oversight Committee's UAP hearing on Wednesday. What was your biggest takeaway? What did you learn that shocked you the most?
Well, fun note, did you know that Matt Gaetz, one of the founding members of the UAP caucus here in Washington, is now going to be the AG? Mike Waltz is now the National Security Advisor, also gavelled in to come to the UAP hearings. So, and then Marco Rubio has been a big advocate for disclosure, and he's now the Secretary of State. And so I think exciting things for our country in that regard. But, you know, look, I've always looked at it through a scientific lens and perspective. You know, when you have many people coming forward from the State Department, from NSA, from different government agencies, from the military stating that UAPs are real, and then you have this aspect of technological advancements. For us, it is a national security issue to ensure that we know what's happening, but also, too, I think it's silly from a mathematical perspective and also a religious perspective to think that human beings are the only creation that God did create. And so, as you know, we have a big galaxy and there's many galaxies out there. And so to put it in perspective, do I think we're alone? No. Am I very curious? Yes. Has it been fun to kind of help tailor and conduct these committees? Absolutely. And I think we're going to continue to push forward with more committees here into the 119th Congress. But what I will state is yesterday, you know, was I a little bit disappointed in some of the responses from the witnesses? Yes, we got some great stuff. But, you know, I'm not interested in hearing about people's books. I'm interested in hearing about whether or not people can answer the questions, because we are trying to get this into the archives so that people have access to the information. And so I wish there was a little less pitching and more talking.
So where are you going to push this issue next? What do you think is the biggest question that you want an answer to?
You know, for me specifically, I always like to look at the evidence previously and then also kind of doing follow-up on what's happening. You know, having Walt over as the National Security Advisor and then Rubio as the Secretary of State and now Matt as the Attorney General, I'm going to be asking if they have access to files that were previously denied. So that's next on the roster. It helps having a Rolodex that has a lot of people in a lot of important positions now at the head of state.
Well, that part about Matt Gaetz didn't age well, did it? Matt Gaetz has withdrawn from the Attorney General position, retired from Congress. And there's some rumors going around he's going to run for governor of Florida. But just be aware, Matt Gaetz did join Cameo, so check him out on there. I'm messing with y'all, but that is true. But regardless, politics is a mess, y'all. It really is. And I mean, even politicians are frustrated with themselves in politics. You know, it's like you want to do the right thing, but you're just like, screw it, just play the game. What else am I going to do? I came in, I wanted to make changes, and then there's nothing I can do, right? And everything moves so slow, right, as well. And look, that's why when you get these opportunities, you have to capitalize on them. It can't be, well, it helped destigmatize the topic, Patrick. That's what we are going to have a hearing for every 1.5 years, to help destigmatize the topic. That's what we're using the congressional hearings for, right? Luna doesn't want to hear about books. She's not the only one, right? And who was one of the witnesses, pushing a book? Lou Elizondo, right? That's what she's talking about, right? And again, they were all pushing something, some sort of nonprofit or what. I was just like, and then they can't answer anything, right? But they submit all this information to Congress behind the scenes. But then when they get asked about it, they can't talk about it, right? So here's Representative Luna at this hearing on November 13th, her full line of questioning, and just try to see it through her eyes, right? And see if that makes a difference, right? I don't know. All right, take a look.
Thank you. I will now recognize Ms. Luna for 5 minutes of questioning.
Mr. Elizondo, to your knowledge, can you name the country and around time frame that the first back engineered UAP program started?
Ma'am, unfortunately, I would not be able to have that conversation in public.
Can anyone on the panel name that?
I cannot.
None of you? Okay. This next question is for Mr. Gallaudet. To your knowledge, have any USOs ever outpaced our submarines?
Yes, ma'am.
At what magnitude?
I don't have the exact speed, but again, a witness came to me, a credible former submarine officer who observed it on sonar data. And this was in the 80s in the North Atlantic during a storm, and it outpaced his submarine by orders of magnitude.
Are you aware of any hotspots that currently exist off our shores in North America?
Not with sufficiently credible data, ma'am.
Okay, we've heard reports of there potentially being hotspots, maybe entry and exit points. Have you heard of any of that?
I have not, ma'am, but my colleague here, Mr. Elizondo, does discuss some USO activity that he's observed in certain DoD databases.
Mr. Elizondo, in regards to these aircraft being piloted by whatever they might be, non-human biologics, would you agree that it's likely that they are being piloted by some mind-body connection?
Ma'am, I think it is safe to presume here that they are being intelligently controlled because some cases seem to anticipate our maneuvers, and in other cases they seem to, I came across an email where the word "stalked" was used in a very secure email between Navy officers discussing their ships being pursued by a UAP.
In our previous panel, we had Grush, and he had testified to say that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all?
Ma'am, I'm not qualified, certainly as a scientist or otherwise, to speculate points of origin. I looked at everything from a scientific perspective. So if you look at, for example, instantaneous acceleration, which was one of the observables of the program that I belong to, ATIP, the human body can withstand about 9 G-forces for a short period of time before you suffer negative biological consequences, blackouts and ultimately redouts and even death. Comparison, our best technology, the F-16, which is it's an older platform, but one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, manned aircraft, made by General Dynamics, can perform about 17 or 18 G-forces before you start having structural failure, meaning that the airframe begins to disintegrate while you're flying. The vehicles we're talking about are performing in excess of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Gs.
So are you, I guess, would it be safe to infer that they're living craft?
I'm not prepared at this point to state for the record is something alive or not, because even that definition is hard. There was a time in science we thought that life required oxygen, and we now know that's not true. There are anaerobic bacteria that thrive in oxygen environments that lack oxygen. And so also same with photosynthesis. When I was in college, I was told everything is derived from photosynthesis as a form of energy. In reality, that's not true. There are things that live off of chemosynthesis. So we're constantly having to reevaluate our understanding of what the definition of life is.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you ever come across reports from people that claim to have firsthand experiences with these entities, whatever they might be, or these aircraft, and then as a result, whether or not they're religious, find that these things will automatically disappear? Anyone, and this is open to any of you on the panel. So just real quick, because I'm running out of time. Lou?
Ma'am, I've always been a nuts and bolts kind of guy. When I was at ATIP, I was focusing more on the performance characteristics and less on the potential occupants.
Okay, the reason I ask is because it seems like, just based on our conversations, that we've had people that say that there are good and bad of whatever these things are. And so my concern from a national security perspective is A, that true? B, are you guys hearing the reports of that? And C, I think moving forward in regards to technology, Mr. Gold, if you can answer this real quickly, some of these aircraft, it seems that they are operating off of energy that we don't currently have. But just yes or no, in your opinion, if we were able to obtain that, would that impact humanity for the better or negative?
Would certainly save us some money on funding on Artemis.
Definitely.
And this is a national security issue, that if there is such technology out there, we're not the only country that might have access to it. We don't want to be on the wrong end of technological surprise.
Okay. Thank you guys for your time.
Honestly, I think her demeanor says it all. The way she's just sitting back there like, we ain't getting anything, right? Because at that point, they were well into the hearing. She's in the, latter half, right? In the I don't know, 2/3 area, right? And you can just tell she's just kind of done with it, dude. You know what I mean? She just kind of, I get it, right? I think a lot of us felt that way. And I'm glad she's just being honest about that and truthful. If I'm being real, right? I actually gained quite a bit of respect for her because she didn't just come out and be like, yeah, we won it. This was great, historic. Like, Nancy Mace did. Nothing against her. She's fine in the UAP movement or whatever. But again, if you don't recognize a loss, you won't make improvements to change it. You know what I mean? It won't do anything. You have to recognize the loss, make improvements. That's how you'll come back a winner. But if a loss becomes a win, then what is a win? So anyway, I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. And please tell me how many times I said right. I can't wait to read it. It's for my trolls. Anyway, that's a joke, y'all. All right, we'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.